The era of the cypherpunks has commenced, fighting for property rights and unstoppable private internet money. What's up, on-chain trenchers? 𝗪𝗵𝘁 here with another deep dive video into the Zcash ecosystem and the world of the cypherpunks. In today's video, we're gonna talk about the recent migration of the Zashi wallet into ZODL, everything that happened behind the scenes, and why ZODL is now set up for long-term success. Moreover, we're gonna discuss why Zcash matters, especially in a world of rising inflation, increased government surveillance, asset seizures, and the post-quantum era we're heading towards. And finally, I would like to make the case why I personally think that Zcash is a superior store of value asset compared to Bitcoin and gold. Alright, so without further ado, let's directly jump in. First off, the famous Zcash wallet, Zashi, as you can see here, has recently become ZODL and underwent this migration and an entire rebranding. Here we hear from 𝗪𝗪𝗿𝗪, the founder of ZODL, stating that the entire former ECC team, which stands for Electric Coin Company, the company that was in charge of developing the Zashi wallet, is now Zcash Open Development Labs, also known as ZODL, and we are rebranding the Zashi wallet to ZODL. You don't need to do anything, the app will rebrand with the next upgrade. This is just the start, big things to come. And only 1 week later, the brand new ZODL wallet went live on the Apple App Store and also on the Google Play Store. So all you have to do if you were a user of the Zashi wallet is to update your old wallet and you will see the newly rebranded ZODL wallet. There are no impacts on your wallet experience and there is no action required. Your funds are safe, your seed phrases remain the same. All you have to do is to update the Zashi app and it will automatically convert into ZODL. Everything else remains the same. We all know the HODL meme that has become super famous in crypto and stands for hold on to your asset for dear life. And the Zcash community and many other communities have taken this meme and adopted it to their brand. So instead of HODL, Zcashers, ZODL. And now Zashi, or the new ZODL team, they also used this meme and transformed it into their new company, which stands for Zcash Open Development Labs, which is super handy if you ask me, and aligns perfectly with this very famous Zcash slogan, ZODL. And here is a screenshot of their official statement that I wanted to share with you, in which they say, "Our name has changed, our work has not. We continue to build and steward the Zcash protocol and drive ZEC adoption through the ZODL wallet." Guardian of the Sovereign. Perhaps some of you already noticed that along the ZODL name, they also adopted a new icon or a emblem, as they used to call it, and this one represents the Sphinx, which is super cool and extremely cypherpunk in my opinion. But why have they chosen the Sphinx as their new brand mascot? Because the Sphinx is the powerful guardian of secrets and the sacred. Here's another snippet of their brand announcement. In Egypt, the Sphinx shielded sacred spaces and divine authority. And throughout all mythologies, they embodied the tension between the hidden and the revealed. I mean, it cannot get more cypherpunk than this. Extraordinary choice, and kudos to the team for picking the Sphinx as their new brand logo. Speaking of cypherpunk values, I have checked out the brand new ZODL website, which I highly recommend you to check it out as well. And there I found their purpose/mission statement that I wanted to share with you shortly. So what they stated there is that we envision a world without mass surveillance, where law-abiding people can transact freely and privately, without fear that their data will be exploited, sold, or weaponized by criminals, corporations, or governments. A world where financial privacy is the default and access to markets is a human right, because the ability to make transactions that sustain life and liberty should belong to everyone. There is no sovereignty without privacy. 𝗪𝗪𝗿𝗪, the founder of ZODL, goes even one step further and says that Zcash and privacy are core to our humanness. We behave differently when we know we are being watched. we're going to get Zcash in the hands of billions of people. No other option. More recently, earlier this week, arguably 2 weeks after the rebranding announcement, ZODL announced that they have raised 25 millions in a seed round. And look at this cap table. I've been in crypto for almost 10 years by now, but I've never seen a cap table like this. So this raise was led by the two biggest and most famous crypto VCs, Paradigm and A16Z, along with many other noteworthy investors and individuals contributing to the growth of this space, like 𝗬𝗪𝗁, which is backed by the two 𝗬𝗪brothers, the founders of the Gemini exchange, but also more recently the cypherpunk company, which is the first digital asset treasury holding Zcash, with the stated goal to accumulate as much as 5% of the entire Zcash supply. Moreover, we have Coinbase Ventures and Maelstrom, which is Arthur Hayes' family business, also investing in ZODL. And as you might have noticed, Arthur is one of the biggest voices out there on CT, and he has been bull posting and spreading the word about Zcash over the last few months. So it's very cool to have him on board as well. Moving on, we have 𝗪𝗁, the founder of the network state and early contributor to Coinbase. We have Haseeb, CEO at Dragonfly, another high-profile venture firm in crypto. 𝗪𝗏, the #1 shitposter on X and arguably the individual that was the main contributor to Zcash's massive run-up later last year. And then we have David Friedberg, which is definitely the most unusual person represented here, but to me the most exciting one. If you don't know, David Friedberg is part of the All In podcast and a longtime builder and investor in the tech world around Silicon Valley. So I guess 𝗪𝗪, definitely Zcash built Friedberg. This means that we now have 2 out of the 4 besties from the All In podcast being invested into Zcash in some shape or form. I mean, 𝗪𝗪 never really stated that he has invested in ZODL or Zcash, but based on his remarks that he made recently, it's pretty clear that he holds at least a small Zcash bag, but more on that in a second. Everything that we have discussed thus far, the rebranding of the Zashi wallet into ZODL, but more importantly, the internal restructuring that went on, because initially ZODL or Zashi was a non-profit company, and now with the rebranding and taking on investor money, they are now a for-profit company, which enables them to move much faster and innovate on the bleeding edge of privacy technology. And that's why I think that soon we will see the phantom wallet of Zcash. If we wind back the time a few years during the 22 bear market, we all know that Solana came out of it as the massive winner, and arguably Phantom was the key driver behind Solana's success, because now for the very first time it became so much easier to interact with the Solana blockchain, especially from a mobile wallet, that streamlined the entire UX and made it feasible for folks out there to interact with the blockchain in a frictionless manner, trading meme coins, sending around stable coins, whatever. And this then gave birth of the resurgence of the Solana ecosystem and arguably also the craze around the meme coins. And I think we will see exactly the same pattern play out within the broader Zcash ecosystem, especially around the adoption of the ZODL wallet, onboarding more and more users into becoming Zcash holders. And that's also what Josh shared here. It's simple. ZODL will get ZEC into the hands of billions. The proof is in the pudding, as this chart here beautifully illustrates. Here we see the moment the Zashi wallet, now ZODL wallet, launched. And from this moment on, I guess it was late 2024, until now, the amount of Zcash that are shielded in the shielded pool, so those are all the Zcash held 100% privately, this adoption curve went up by over 400%. Back in 2024, a little bit more than 1 million Zcash were shielded, and since the ZODL wallet went live, now we are above 5 million Zcash, which is more than 30% of the entire circulating supply. Another key milestone in the adoption curve of the shielded pool was the ZODL wallet integration with the Keystone hardware device, which made it possible for users to link their Zcash holdings with a hardware device. And I'm really looking forward for the ledger integration. I think the moment you can use your ledger to shield Zcash in the shielded pool, we might see another 20, if not 50% rise in the amount of Zcash put into the shielded pool. And finally, we have here the integration of the swap feature with the ZODL wallet, which happened last year in October. And since then, more than 300 million worth of Zcash have been swapped via the ZODL wallet. This all sounds cool, but why does it matter, 𝗪𝗵𝘁, you might ask, and why should I care about Zcash? And that's exactly the question I'm going to answer in the second part of this video, where we're gonna talk about why privacy matters, upholding property rights, how Zcash is best positioned in the post-quantum era, and why I think it's a superior store of value compared to gold or Bitcoin. Let's kick it off with 𝗪𝗏, our favorite shitposter on crypto Twitter, on why Zcash matters. He says there is no version of a positive future without individuals having the right to private money. This is the whole reason why crypto exists, and I fully agree with him. If you think back to the very beginnings of crypto, when the cypherpunks took over and wanted to create this alternative money system outside of governments, outside of the banks, those privacy values, decentralization, and just having full ownership over your money still mattered, but over the times those values eroded and crypto became all about being the casino, getting rich quick, and just dumping on each other. But now, with the resurgence of the cypherpunk, we are finally back here, returning to the very roots of crypto itself. Next up, we have Frank Brown arguing why gold is minor to Bitcoin and Bitcoin is minor to Zcash. He says, just wait until the gold bugs discover that gold is physical and can easily be seized. He continues, wait until the Bitcoin maxis discover that Bitcoin is traceable and that makes it easy to seize. Then you will understand why we Zcash and wish you didn't fade. If you think from first principles what Frank just said here, it is really true. Physical gold can easily be seized because it is very hard to hide. Just think of taking a gold bullion and move it with you if you cross borders, or simply hiding it at home. It poses you to massive risks. Bitcoin, on the other side, is better than gold in this regard. But the issue with Bitcoin is that it is fully traceable, hence it makes it easy to seize as well. If you just apply a little bit of AI and pattern recognition, sooner or later every Bitcoin holder can be deciphered and they can link back the transactions to your account and know exactly that you hold Bitcoin and how much of it you hold. And that's exactly why Zcash is superior to both gold and Bitcoin, because it is fully private and hence not traceable, and you can easily take it with you wherever you go, unlike Bitcoin or gold. Moving on, here we have 𝗪𝗏 talking about the sovereign debt crisis and the end of the Western Keynesianism. That's a difficult word to pronounce. That will be even bigger than the end of Soviet communism. They're going to destroy every Western fiat ledger. Anything stored on a fiat ledger, from currency to stock to bonds, will be first exorbitantly taxed and eventually simply seized, or simply inflated to zero. This is the logic of the sovereign debt crisis. And Zcash offers a solution to so many of the issues outlined here, because first, it is private, nobody knows that you own it, hence it is protected from government seizure, nobody can take it away from you if in the first place they don't even know that you hold it, hence they cannot tax it. And as it is a private store of value, exactly the way as Bitcoin, there are only 21 million Zcash that will be ever in circulation, it serves as this decentralized private store of value on top. Upholding property rights. Here we have Zashi stating similar things, that real estate is easier to tax or confiscate than gold. Gold is significantly easier to confiscate than Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is easier to confiscate than shielded Zcash. Very important. If you just hold Zcash on a centralized exchange like Kraken, Binance, whatever, They can take it away from you just as they can take away your Bitcoin, your fiat currency, your property, or gold. Hence, please, please, please make sure to shield your Zcash and make it 100% private. If you don't know how to do that, I recorded a onboarding guide on how to use the ZODL wallet and how to shield your Zcash, which you can check out somewhere over here. And that's exactly why Sasha continues. Crypto is ultimately about upholding property rights. The more cypherpunk the asset, the stronger your property rights. And Zcash is definitely the most cypherpunk crypto asset out there. And now let's listen to 𝗪𝗪, one of the co-hosts of the before mentioned All In podcasts, and what he has to say about gold and Bitcoin and their limitations in comparison to Zcash.
Second contrarian take is that I think the central banks will realize that there are limitations to gold and limitations to Bitcoin, and will, as a result, seek out a completely new cryptographic paradigm that they can control on their balance sheet, that is fungible, that is tradable, and that is completely secure and private. And I think the reason why that privacy needs to exist is that for the sovereignty of a country, you need to be in a position where you have assets that are not easily disclosed to anybody else, friends or enemies alike. And then separately, cryptographically, if you're going to own a currency, you need to hedge against the eventual risk in the next 5 to 10 years that there's a quantum chip that can challenge the existing cryptographic schemes that are used.
Fair. You might say that he didn't mention Zcash, but if you can read between the lines, that's exactly what he refers to when talking about fungibility, privacy. New cryptographic primitive, Zcash is the leading blockchain when it comes to zero knowledge proofs, quantum resistancy, and so forth. Talking about the quantum threat, here we have Nick Carter saying that Novo implied on their last earnings call of 𝗪𝗪, which is one of the largest crypto businesses that is trading on the public stock exchange. They are crypto traders and are buying or selling crypto on behalf of big whales. On their last earnings call here, Novo said that they had a client that sold 9 billion worth of Bitcoin, at least partially due to quantum fear. So this tells us that the quantum threat is definitely to be taken serious, and that there are large Bitcoin whales out there that are afraid of this post-quantum world and are actively selling Bitcoin, and many of them are seeking refuge or shelter by converting parts of their Bitcoin into Zcash, which is the cryptocurrency that is closest to have a breakthrough when it comes to quantum recoverability. The Zcash team, they have been thinking about the post-quantum world for years. In the latest research paper that they dropped a few weeks ago, they stated that the team is actively working on a new shielded pool that is fully quantum resistant. Quoting from their paper, there will be a new post-quantum safe shielded pool that gets developed well before a cryptographically relevant quantum computer comes for people to migrate into. So once this new shielded pool is live, all you have to do is to use, again, the ZODL wallet or any other wallet you use to store your Zcash and migrate your holdings from one pool to the other, and your assets will be fully post-quantum safe. Here we have Dev, one of the co-authors of this paper and core contributor to the post-quantum era of Zcash. He said that it's just going to take a tiny wallet upgrade, then your funds are quantum safe forever. You can HODL or ZODL and know you will never lose money due to a quantum computer. And this is just heartwarming and so reassuring as a Zcash holder myself, knowing that there are super crack developers out there thinking ahead not just 1 year, but 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and actively working to protect your assets from this major threat of quantum computers taking over, while everybody else out there is like sleeping on the wheel, not thinking ahead, or just suffering from inertia. And that's also one of the reasons why I converted all of my Bitcoin into Zcash lately, along with the other reasons that I try to highlight here in this video, because it just has better properties like full privacy, fungibility, and post-quantum recoverability than any other store of value out there. This is the final slide of today's presentation, and it tries to encapsulate everything that we have discussed thus far, and also answers the question why Zcash matters. Zcash is not a trade, especially in the ever-accelerating world we are living in, where global forces like the rise of the surveillance state or more and more authoritarian governments are taking over control, and a world in which every geopolitical tension or economic crisis is solved by just printing new money out of thin air, inflating away your savings and eroding your purchasing power. Moreover, we see capital controls being put into place and governments starting to seize individual and high value assets from their owners. And of course, in a world of AI and just the staggering amount of innovation and breakthrough, it's only a matter of time until we will reach quantum supremacy, and this poses a fundamental threat to the entirety of society. Then the question becomes, how do I protect myself, and what are potential solutions to store my wealth or to protect myself from such a dystopian future? And probably the argument number one that comes up is to hold a store of value that cannot be seized easily, and nobody out there knows that I'm holding it. But what are the store of value assets that inherently come with these trades? We discussed Bitcoin, which is a solid solution, but over the long run, it lacks privacy and it is not set up for a post-quantum world. We have gold, which also works fine, but it has physical constraints. It's hard to move and it can be easily confiscated. And then we have other privacy coin alternatives like Monero or Tornado Cash, but they all come with their own inherent flaws, as we've seen in the past, as they don't rely on full encryption, but rather use techniques to hide information from outsiders. But with AI, these patterns can be reconstructed and users of Monero or Tornado Cash can be traced back. This then leaves us with Zcash as the sovereign solution for a store of value asset, as it comes with cryptographic privacy. It has an anonymity set of millions of holders and nodes distributed across the globe. It is best prepared for a post-quantum world. As we have seen in this presentation, they are actively working on the post-quantum features that should go live later this year. And it also comes with this Lindy effect, as Zcash has been around for over 10 years. That's a lot of time, especially in crypto, for the protocol to be fully battle tested. I'm sure there were a lot of attackers trying to crack the code and break into Zcash, but nobody managed to do so. And even more importantly, throughout these 10 years, the Zcash asset, ZEC, was able to diffuse and propagate around the world and find holders in every single country, which just reinforces their network effects. And more recently, as we have seen, they not only have this passionate cypherpunk community, but are now also well funded with the 25 million fundraise of the ZODL wallet to just push towards the future and bring private unstoppable money to everybody out there, easily accessible directly from their phones. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, I hope you got some value out of it. And if you want to support myself and this channel, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. And for those of you that need private help with setting up their Zcash wallet or want to take a closer look at my portfolio holdings and join our private Discord community, feel free to join us in On-Chain Trenches Plus. You can find the link in the show notes below. See you in the On-Chain Trenches. 𝗪𝗵𝘁 out.